Coming, Sky?
Wrong. To be honest. Wrong. Wrong. There.
Okay, I think we're live, so.
So if I just lean over like this,
Then they can't see you.
hey everybody!
Hey everyone, it's Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures.
Oh wait.
I'm here with my daughter Sky, and she's going to talk a bit about, with me, bushcrafting with an early teenage girl. Because fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, she is an early teenage girl who does bushcraft with me.
Okay.
Okay? So let's just get you in the camera.
No. I'm in it enough. Look at it.
Here. You're not.
Literally, look. It's the same image.
As you can see, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to do stuff with a teenage girl.
It's the same image.
Now, I just want to check the volume, make sure this is working. Perfect. Okay, everything's working. So, Robert can't join us today. He's otherwise occupied. And I thought it would be a good chance to get my daughter to join us because she has a different and more or less unique point of view of what it's like to go bushcrafting, especially for someone her age and her generation. So we haven't got out this year much, did we?
I guess not.
No, it's been unfortunate about that. But you do enjoy getting out. You do.
Sure.
Sure. You are going to make me work for this, aren't you?
I don't know. What do you want me to say?
I want you to tell me, give us your opinion.
On.
So if there were teenage girls that wanted to go bushcrafting, they wanted to get out and do camping and stuff, what would you want to tell them? What do you think they need to know, be prepared for before they go?
I don't know.
You've done it. Would you say the temperature is an issue?
Depends when you go. The temperature, I can't call on the temperature. It's everywhere. Different.
Well, it's obviously not indoors, so there is an effect, right? Especially this time of year, right? What else do you think we could take into consideration? What about food?
What do you want me to say?
What are your favorite things when we go? What do you like? Because honestly, teenagers can be a little bit more difficult to feed. What are some good ideas? Something that you enjoy when we bushcraft that you think other teenagers might prefer?
Chocolate? I don't know.
Chocolate.
That's what you always buy.
You always enjoyed s'mores.
That's what I do at camping food.
Not everyone that does this listening will have regularly camped. So think about it as somebody who's never gone before. Since we've come to BC, I'm sure you've met people at school who may have never camped, whether you've talked about that with them or not. There's a lot of people who may not have had the opportunities that are much more common in, say, Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, because it's a very common event. But a lot of people, they're new to it. So what are some things that make it more fun and exciting? Or what are things do you think are too much? Like, we would probably want to suggest you avoid big hikes on your very first trip, especially with teenagers, because if it goes poorly, it's a long trip back.
Yeah.
Right? So we would definitely want to recommend, I think, that start off with manageable goals and expectations. You don't necessarily want to do big trips that could be difficult if something goes wrong. Or if they're not enjoying themselves.
What are you doing?
I'm looking for my ring light. I think it'll improve the image quality.
What's the point of having a ring light if you're gonna put it completely away from the camera? It's just to go around the camera.
It doesn't fit. If you come up with a better solution, we'll do it. But right now, this
I'm
is
just
what
saying there's no point in having a ring light then. No point in it being a ring. Could be
we'll come back to that.
square.
We can discuss that after. So, anyways, like we said, take your first few trips. Try to make something that you're not traveling a long way to get there. So choose places close to home, and then try to choose places that maybe are accessible, probably a short distance from your vehicle or for your mode of transportation. Um, Also, I think make sure that there are things to do. Um, Places where you can go swimming.
Yes, honey.
Swimming's a really good one. Provide activities that they can do. Um, One trip me and you did, I believe we spent quite a bit of time looking for different types of fungus, and we found
Yeah.
apples, and that really made the time pass. Like it was something that we could actively do, and was, you know, arguably it was exciting and fun, but it was definitely something to keep you and us occupied, right? So when you're going out, it's one thing to go with all adults and maybe you can sit there and just chat, but I think especially with younger people, sitting and just chatting is not overly exciting, is it?
Depends.
And so having that activity, something that you can do. So in that case, we took a few apps. One of them was how to identify different types of fungus. I believe I have one for identifying different constellations and stuff. I don't even think we used that one, but I had it.
We didn't look at any stars ever.
No, it's horrible. But that would be a good thing, I think. I've often thought it would be great to take a telescope, especially for somebody who's probably spent a lot of the time in the city and wouldn't have gotten to see stars the way they can be out in the wilderness where it's much darker and you have like this natural dark spot. Stars can be quite pretty and you can see quite a bit. Um, Fire starting. You've actually generally will do the start the fire now when we go.
Yeah, like at the cabin.
Yeah, it's cabin or other times. So that's a you know we would oftentimes as guys we'd say that's one of the chores, but honestly for young people who haven't had the opportunity to start a lot of fires, it's kind of an event. I think you could
Mm.
say like it's something enjoyable. And honestly, when I try to interfere and even give instruction, once they've figured it out, they don't want your instruction. They want to learn on their own. So they would rather make the mistakes and not have you picking at them and disturbing them for it. So keep that in mind. It's really give them that freedom while also offering them some safety in case they need it. Don't prevent kids from exploring. You generally like to be able to explore, walk down the beach. You don't want to have to be have a parent hovering over you while you're doing it, do you?
Again.
I feel that she enjoys that. What else? You've always had access to a knife, so she could carve things. She could cut down sticks. She could make what weenie roasty sticks, marshmallow sticks, whatever you want to call them. Um,
Just take the bark off and make every steak.
Sometimes just stripping a bark off a stick. You can make cute designs on a stick. Make walking sticks. We've made dozens of walking sticks over the years, I think. So that's a common one. It's something you can actively do, like they get to use, right? Um, so we almost always camp near water. Oftentimes we'll take a canoe, a kayak, even if we're not canoe kayak tripping. It's something for them to do. They can go out, collect water, things like that. So that's always been a fishing.
Fishing.
Fishing. You've generally enjoyed fishing.
It's alright.
It's all right. Um, with that comes a lot of other things. Collecting bait. So sometimes that can give it, especially with I think the younger kids, gets to a point where I feel like they kind of grow out of the interest of digging in and looking for insects and stuff. But at a slightly younger age, that seems to be a bit more of a fun. But it varies from person to person. Um, for you, you've always had your own camping gear,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that I feel that's important. I don't know, like, do you think that helps, knowing that it's your gear and you have some control? Where if you had to just use someone else's gear, like you were borrowing it, would that have an effect? Do you think?
Probably not.
I've always thought it was good. So she's had her own backpack, her own sleeping bag. You got your own hammocks. You have your own utensils. Um, fire starting kit. I believe you have some fire starting stuff.
Maybe.
Um, you don't have a stove,
No.
but there is ones you can borrow. Um, but most of the gear, she has 90% of the gear she would need to do a solo trip, um, which I think is a good thing. Um, we generally get to carry at least some of your food, but not all of it.
Mm.
Um, but I think treats, and this is something a friend of mine, when he went camping with his kid, he always made sure that they had divvied up the treats and generally like equaled it out to a certain amount per day. Um, that seems to really work well. So giving your kids some control over their food situation and allowing them to have treats that they can divvy out as they feel needed kind of gives them a sense of control and also allows them to eat when they're hungry. Because honestly, when you're working hard and you're out there, you tend to I think get hungry more frequently. So and sometimes you eat out of boredom.
Mm.
Yeah. What else? What What do you think we could tell people if they wanted to go with their child that would they could tell their children to help encourage them to come? If they were hesitant to go, if you were trying to convince somebody, what would you potentially tell them?
I don't know. I don't know.
If you had to convince a friend to go camping with you, what would you tell them that you think would make it exciting or interesting for them?
We could go like swimming or something.
Go swimming, yeah. So we mentioned that. Fires, you get to stay up late. Nobody really hassles you with time,
Mm.
right? I don't think we've ever had a camping trip where we told you it was bedtime.
No.
Um, we've also given you a lot of freedom towards where to sleep. You've not always chose to sleep extremely close to us.
Mm.
So I think that's a big part of it, giving kids that freedom to explore and learn while also being there. So it was probably fairly important that we be close enough we could hear you, or that you could see us if something did happen, if we got some noises.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the trip to Keji where all the birds came through? And it was like a ridiculous racket.
I don't think I even heard that.
You didn't hear it? Oh man,
I think I slept through that.
that is crazy. So
I
I can
slept
remember I was
completely
thinking about
through.
it today because as I was driving to work I seen like a swarm of birds and it was it was kind of crazy because I can really remember it and it sounded to me like somebody was coming up the trail with like a wagon full of like tins and cans or something, and you could just hear the squeaking of a wheel and this rattling of like metal cans together. And when they came closer and closer, it got louder and louder. It was not deafeningly loud, but extremely loud. And it even like sort of blotted out the sun a bit. Like it got dull for a period, but it only lasted 5, 6 minutes and then they were gone. But you could hear them for probably 5, 10, 15 minutes before they showed up. But it was like way off. You could hear it coming. You're like, what is that noise? And I remember laying there thinking, that's really weird. I could easily see you sleeping through that. But then when they came through, they were very loud. And I peeked my head out under the hammock tarp, and you could just see the starlings everywhere. And they just as quickly left. That was the trip with Valerie and her family. So,
Oh.
and you slept off by yourself. Maybe you were a bit further away from it because they came right through the center of the campsite. But it must have been hundreds of birds.
Hmm.
Um, that was also a trip. I think we used berries to catch fish, and you guys caught 2 or 3 fish, and you took most of them off the hook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I only took one off the hook.
Yeah. So Um, we also did a trip in the dead of winter, which you've often made fun of me for giving you too many sleeping bags.
I had like 6 sleeping bags.
4.
Close to 6.
It was a lot, but
Closer to 6 than 1.
definitely closer to 6 than 1. So we had a cheap Walmart one, and I think we had the 2-piece military sleeping system, and I may have had another sleeping bag thrown in there, or at least a big blanket, like a down blanket that we had thrown over the top of you. Um, and I think I gave you a hand warmer to throw down.
Like one of the huge ones?
Yeah, one of the large body-sized hammocks. Not hammocks, hand warmers. And that's something I've often used, and I think that's really important, especially with anyone who's new to it, is to keep some hand warmers available. So if something gets cold, like your hands or your feet, you can hold on to those things or put them on your feet and really get rid of that. Because if you're cold, you're pretty well miserable, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much that you can do once you get cold. Um, the big trip that I kind of just mentioned, we went camping with a few other YouTubers, and we got probably about a foot of snow while we were out, and we had a tent actually collapse. Nobody was sleeping in the tent. It was just like an ice fishing tent, um, and there was you and one other little boy um, camping that trip. And I believe you even burned your hand, and
Yeah, I did.
like like a trooper, you made it through without any complaint, and you had a saw and you cut a ton of wood even with the burnt hand.
Mm.
We did a lot of exploring, and there was a couple of times you did get cold, and we had to warm you up. But once you got warmed up, and we got you working, and cutting, and stuff, you were you were quite a bit better. So I think that was pretty good. Yeah. So the other thing is, if you're gonna give them gear, make sure it's gear that works for them. So your backpack is designed for smaller women. It's or kids, large kids, small women, and it fits you relatively well. Um,
Yes.
and it's much better for you to have something that fits relatively well than something that didn't fit at all. Because I don't think you'd be able to hike at all. Now we haven't done a lot of, and I think your mother brought this up a little while ago. We haven't done a lot of big hiking trips. We've almost always used canoes and kayaks for most of our trips.
Yeah. And catching.
In Keji. So we did a lot of trips in Keji. Or the other ones, like the winter trip, we drove in. We were probably only a few hundred feet from the vehicles at the furthest, for tents, anyways. We did explore a bit further. Um, and the one at the lake with Stephen and Chris, we were again close to the vehicles. I think we brought a boat. We did canoe and put in.
Yeah.
So that was fun. What would you say the worst thing about camping is?
Hiking and being cold.
Okay. So that's what I was saying. Like, I asked, like, what are some things to warn people about? Like you say, being cold. It's being cold is pretty miserable. So if you can keep yourself warm, give them options. Just definitely make sure that warm clothes, like a good sweater. Like you love your big hoodies and stuff. Um, thermal underclothing or sportswear, whatever you call it, like Under Armour type stuff. That really helps. A decent like jacket, boots, gloves, hat, um, maybe a scarf, something you can take on and off. Because the same thing with anyone. If you get too hot, you need to be able to regulate that. You don't want them getting cold and sweaty. Um, Same thing with absolutely everyone, but just keep these in mind. Dry clothes to sleep in. So we've always had like jogging pants style stuff for you to sleep in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even in the
Sweatpants.
winter, and I can remember the um, struggle because the winter night we went out, I think we were close to minus 20 that day. was both of us had to, and we had our own tent system that we were in, but both of us had to change in the outdoors into fresh clothes into very cold. So that was absolutely miserable. Um, and I remember you had to wake up and go pee, and that was also a struggle because getting in and out of 4+ sleeping bags was a challenge.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's not always possible to have like the ideal sleeping bag, and you definitely want to stay warm. But we managed. It was a good time. Um, what else? So I said activities. Um, Anything that they can explore. An activity we have been trying to do for a while, we haven't, was looking for different types of rocks and gems and stuff. So there are areas you can go and find large amounts of quartz. What are some other rocks you might find around here? I've always wanted to look up chert because it would be similar to quartz and be nappable products, but amethyst, things like that. This stuff exists around, so you can go find it. And there are apps you can look up to tell you where you can find it. So if your teenager is into that sort of thing, something that they might take home and do the polishing and stuff like that might be interesting. Um, where we've done like the podcast, sometimes like photography and videography is something. So if you have a camera or something, they can play with that and use that, get some photos, stuff like that might be useful. Fishing rods, that's really good. Fire starting material, anything they can do with that. Um, cooking is always a fun one, and it's enjoyable because you get an immediate reward for doing it. We've cooked some interesting meals out there, I think.
Yeah, cooking with fungi and stuff.
The fungi?
Yeah.
Yeah, the chicken of the woods.
Yeah.
Did you try that?
No, I didn't try that.
No. That was good. You just thought it looked disgusting, didn't you?
It probably was disgusting.
It wasn't.
Probably was.
So try to encourage your kids to try new things before you get out, because I think that's a good point. Make sure that any food you're taking, they're already comfortable with, because if you get out there and they decide um, they don't want to try it, and that's the only food you have to offer, it can be quite a struggle. I mean, you've been through that.
When I had to get pizza.
Yes, and fortunately, a buddy of mine was coming in that day and picked up pizza. Um, is it? This is inspiring and relatable. My son makes me work just as hard to have these kind of conversations. Fishing is a big hit with my daughter. That's from Chris Jones. I find that kids and their friends really engage if they're involved in or encouraged in meal prep cooking. Yeah, agreed. Meal things can be great ones, and I think the fun ones. So we've done different types of fire things. Was it the banana boats? You don't remember that? You take the banana, put it in tin foil, you put like a chocolate bar in the middle. I think there's pears or something involved.
I don't remember that.
We've done those. You were younger. The s'mores have always been just a favorite with you guys. So we've almost always had s'more kits when we have fires. There's a peppermint patty one you can do too. That can be fun. Yeah, hot dogs. Hot dogs. Cooking hot dogs over the fire is really easy and enjoyable, and I love it. Smokies. You like smokies? We've tried the bannock. You guys haven't been as excited about the bannock.
What's that?
That's the bread made like over the fire. There's plenty of ways to do that. Look it up. I think a lot of kids would really enjoy it. Maybe bring lots of butter and or syrup that they can put on top of it, or if they like
Syrup?
Syrup, like maple syrup.
I know what syrup is.
That would make it better for you.
No. Why would you put that in bread?
It's just like a pancake.
Right.
Still keep telling
You
you.
just said bread. It's not a pancake.
Pancakes are bread, just cooked in
No, they're not. It's cake. Cooked in a...
Much more like a bread. Toutons is another name on it, which literally was bread
yeah.
fried. What?
Toutons.
Toutons.
Yelled it.
Yes. Um, yeah. So, anything else you want to add?
No.
No, you're done.
Or, I don't know, I don't just have things waiting to say.
Sure.
No, I
So,
don't.
like I said, give them their own gear. It makes them feel like they're part and they're like an equal participant in it. Skylar, you've had your own kayak for many of the trip.
Yep.
Do be prepared to have to help, especially with packs, paddling. Oftentimes we've had to hook on and tow for a while because sometimes they just get bored or tired or cranky. Um, I find teenagers and young adults are much more affected by hunger than most, but not everyone. Many adults are just as bad or worse. So make sure that they have food and stuff because if they get hungry, it is going to be more of a challenge. Hygiene, again, this a lot of the stuff is standard for everyone. Make sure that they have their own hygiene products and know how to use them. So anything they have to take, they should be aware of how to use. It is more difficult because you're in the woods. You may not have as much hot water. You don't have like taps. So if you're used to brushing your teeth with running water at a sink, and now you're doing it outside of a lake, you know, knowing that you have to sort of work with clean water still going in your mouth if you swallow it and it's not not been purified or filtered, that can
Get a
lead
filter.
get a filter. Bugs is a good one. Um, give them some options. Bug sprays, screens, like the head protection or whatever. Like,
No, no.
see,
You just wear your hat thing.
I wore the hat
You
thing.
look like a beekeeper.
Give them some options. Find out what's going to work with them. Try this stuff out before you get home. Get there. If you show up and give them a piece of odd-looking clothing, they are very possibly going to look at you like you got three heads and say, "I'm not going to wear that." Is that true?
Probably.
Yeah, very much
If you give
true.
them a beekeeping hat.
You give them a beekeeping hat. Some other products there are no-fly zone clothing and stuff. You can give them some of that and try that out. Ticks. Uh, in a lot of the world now, like ticks are a huge problem. Make sure that they have protection for that, and have a plan on how you're going to check for ticks before you leave, so that they understand what's going on. I think an important part, especially with teens, because they're becoming much more aware that they are very close to being an adult, um, is really having that open communication with them, what to expect and what to know what's going on. Give them some say in the meal plan, in how far you're going to travel, where you're going. If you just sort of like dictate everything from the beginning, I think you're much more likely to have like some pushback. So open that conversation up early, and invite them. Don't necessarily tell them that they're going on a trip. Invite them on a trip, the same as you would for a friend or an adult. I think it's important to treat your preteens and teens much more like an adult because they are very much approaching adulthood. But also realize that they're not always going to fully embrace being an adult, and sometimes you have to give them more assistance. So be aware that there is that duality that you have to deal with. As one, they are capable of a lot of adult decisions and things, but the others you have to be there to support them. So if you leave it completely up to them, they won't necessarily think of all the things they need to, and then they will ask you why you didn't tell them. Have we done this?
I don't know what's what.
Well, I've told you in one past trip that, pack your food because you wouldn't give me any ideas, and you said, I don't know what to pack, and we got there, and you ended up having to order pizza in the middle of the woods. Right? Because you didn't know what to eat, and you didn't know what to ask for. So,
Well, yeah, because I'm supposed to pack my own food.
my point, right? Everyone can pack their own food, but they won't necessarily think
No, I
about
can't.
the length of time. So
Because I don't just have stashes of food.
tons of food in the house. You can always pack what you want.
There wasn't.
Always,
There's no food.
there's no food. The fridge is
Literally, go pack a bag of food right now. You will not be able to. Maybe food for you because you actually get your own food, but I can't. So.
see, children difficult. Other than that, what else? Um, 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 yeah. Entertainment. We've always allowed you guys to use your cell phones and stuff while we're camping, and we often recommend before we leave, like download some shows and make sure there's some stuff on or some games because there may be some downtime that you just can't fill for them. Giving them that option, bringing some games, especially um, things that can be fun. So we've brought card games, but we've also brought little packable games that you can play. Whether we use them every time or not, we've always taken. Um, I think you guys all had your own slingshots for a while. They still exist somewhere. So it was something that they could play with. We could set
Or
up.
just the balloons. That have like balloon things and full of balloon.
Yeah, pocket shots.
Yeah.
Very
So,
capable. I have one similar. Um, they can be a lot of fun stuff like that. Again, the fishing sort of falls in the same category. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was really fun that we could do. I think the funnest has always been though like a good place to go swimming or something that you could physically do.
like cards or something.
Yeah, something to just see, like going to see like waterfall, has rarely been something you guys got overly excited for. We
Yeah,
get there,
that's
it's
not
like,
that
yeah, the
exciting.
water fell. We watched it, it fell.
That's nice. Like, okay.
But if they can get in the water and swim, or if they can go fishing, or if they can climb over things, it seems to add a bit more. Um, Allowing them to help set up their sleep systems, their tents and stuff is good, but don't depend on them to do it completely on their own. They will get frustrated if it's difficult, and it makes it more difficult later. And chances are, if you get them too frustrated, the next trip's going to be a no. Um, Bringing a friend has often been helpful.
When did we ever bring a friend? Literally never.
Cabin, and you've always been offered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because you offered doesn't mean that it's an option.
So, if you can, let them bring a friend or somebody to share the experience with. Um, know that sometimes they won't ask, or they'll struggle with that, and oftentimes getting permission from other people, friends and families, parents may not be as into it or as comfortable. So you can't depend on that. We tried to get it with Gary's daughter a few times too. I don't know if we ever successfully did that, did we?
I don't know.
She came into the
I don't
cabin.
know.
Yeah. So there's those things. Let's see. Make sure they have good food, plenty of it. Make sure they have the gear the same as you would for an adult. Um, Go to places that are kind of interesting and fun and gives them something to do. Um, that always helps. Beyond that, I think it's very much like camping with anyone else. Just make sure that as they are teenagers, do give them that extra support in making the decisions. Try to chat with them. I know it can be a struggle. I'm sure you guys watching this here can see the struggle. Getting them to open up and tell you things can be frustrating. So you have to try to anticipate their needs and work with them. And it's not always easy. It does have its struggles, but it's generally worth it once you do get a successful trip. And I think we usually have a lot of fun. We have some challenges, but they're always worth it. And we're hoping to get out soon-ish, or definitely next year. We have some plans to get out for sure. You've done hot tin camping, you've done tent camping in the winter, you've done canoe and kayak trips. You've done. You probably don't remember them so much, but some car trips. You used to go regularly.
Don't remember some car trips.
The ones, especially when we had the pop-up trailer. Do you remember those?
I remember the trips. I remember the trailer.
Yeah. So she was much younger when we had the trailer. Sky has camped pretty well all her life in one way, shape, or form. So it's been a bit easier, I think, because all my kids have camped from young age. But there is definitely some struggles and things that we are learning still as we go. Um, but it's been good, and it's a great chance to bond. And I know at certain ages that bonding is a little bit harder. There's this independent streak that they want to show you. You get the sideways glance, things like that. uh,
Continue.
but yeah, so that's about all I really had to say. I don't know. Is there anything you would like to add? Is there anything you would like to tell teenagers that are thinking about going but are unsure of it? Would you like to encourage them? Would you tell them like, no, it's not worth it. Just stay home and play Minecraft all day?
Go camping in Minecraft.
Well, go camping in Minecraft. So you can let them take their device and do a bit of Minecraft. They can do. Um, they don't have to be exclusive. I think that's a good point. You know, don't make them think they have to choose one or the other. Give them those opportunities.
You can play Minecraft with people.
Do you need data for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on the Minecraft instead.
Yeah. I think it's important to let them know what their connectivity will be. So if they're going to be able to still communicate with their friends, if they have to expect to have very little. Also, like how much you can charge your devices. So whether they have to really baby their battery or not is a good point. Yeah. So those are sort of some of the things. I think there's definitely a struggle to it, and I definitely think some people will not do it. And you hear people say that with kids of all ages. Oh, they're not old enough, or oh, they're just too old. It's too difficult. I think you can camp with anyone of any age. You just need to take the time to do it and put some serious effort into it, um, and it becomes very much worth it. Um, but plan your trips. Let everyone know what to expect. Make sure that you have adequate food and resources planned for it. Um, take into account the extra effort that may be involved. So, if you plan a long trip with large portages, realize that at some point they may just check out, and if they do, they will literally lay their bags down and say, "I'm done," and kind of.
That happened. That never happened.
Not so much with you, but I've seen it with others. And we've calculated that in. But yeah, like we've had big times where we've been paddling, and you said, "I'm not paddling it."
No, it never happened.
And so then we've tied on to you and pulled you. And your sisters had done it even more than you. So
But yeah, because you were just yelling at me. So I was like, I'm not paddling anymore. I'm just letting you.
would you please paddle away? Would you just please float?
No. I'll float away now.
Do you remember paddling across the lake and in the fog, and we couldn't see the shore anyway?
Yeah.
That was a fun trip.
Let's use the map.
And Chris and them went the long way, and we went straight across.
Yeah.
Then I told them well after that I had a GPS, so I knew which way we were going, and they could. How did he have such great navigation?
You can just see. You just have over here.
Yeah.
Your drones that you have in there.
We used the drone that trip.
No, I know. Your drones, you just have it there. The birds, you just control.
The other thing, I think we've always had pretty good luck, but choosing a good campsite, like
What's a bad campsite?
the one where Robert thought he was going to drown,
I don't remember that.
the Bushcraft gathering, and he was down by the by the lake, and the wind was much harder, and he ended up like. So the story maybe you didn't quite hear it. So it's it started to rain, and he was really close to the water. Me and Sky went into the woods and up on a hill. We would have had to have at least 10 feet of water rise from that lake before we would have even known it where we were to, and then we would just had shoreline.
I don't remember any of this ever happening.
Anyways,
Pretty sure you're making that.
Pretty sure I am. So, anyways, enough rain got down into my underquilt that was under Robert. It. Oh, for sure, 100%. That Robert heard like a splashing going on underneath him, and he thought that the lake had raised because he was only a few feet over the lake, anyways. He thought the lake water had raised, and he started like calling out. Now we didn't hear him; we were sound asleep. But he apparently panicked because he could feel water on him because there was a pool in the underquilt, and he could hear it swishing around. And he ended up going to sleep in his car that night.
I feel like I recognize him.
Yeah.
So you still probably just making it up.
But we were up. We had a really.
You just want more people to join.
Yeah, I'm losing people left, right, and center.
Yeah, really.
We peaked at 3. Now we're back down to 3. We were down to 1.
At 4. You peaked at
4. So yeah, it's choosing a good site so that there's not a lot of wind. And that you're
water just the basics.
Choose sheltered sites close to water, close to a place that you
can use.
Not
super close to the water, not super
close to washroom facilities or options. So even if you're like really bushcrafting it, make sure that there's a good spot that they can go where they're comfortable to use the washroom. I think that's a big bonus. I know some people that take like a porta potty type system as a bucket with a cover.
What's going on?
Monsters trying to get in at us. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm gonna just do something. Starting with that ring one.
That you don't like it.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's useless because you don't use it as a ring.
I'll try.
You just get a regular light. Get a light bulb.
So if you're ever unsure, just ask a teenager and they'll tell you the right answer. They know everything. So yeah, so get out there. Definitely work with them. Are you looking forward to our next trip?
I don't know. When is it? I can't look forward to it.
January.
January.
Yeah. We'll go up in the mountains.
Why? Why are we going to go in the mountains?
Why? Because there's snow up there. And I'd rather be cold with snow than cold with mud.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we can try out our new stove.
New stove. I didn't know I had a new stove.
You didn't know about the new titanium stove?
Nope. I guess you just didn't tell me.
You didn't see me sew a bag for it?
Well, yeah, I just thought you were sewing a new bag for an old one. No, so.
Okay. I have a
Where
new.
Is it?
It's in a box. I'll show you that later.
Then why'd you sew a bag? If you're gonna put it in a box.
The bag is in the box.
Why would you waste your time and money and effort?
Because the box goes into Scout so that we can drive it into the woods and then throw it in the sled. It's also with the sleeping.
So then what's the point of the bag?
To keep the stove protected. What's the point of the bag for the sleeping bag?
I
believe.
Because you don't put the sleeping bag in a box.
Just a big Rubbermaid container. That all my camping gear for the winter is in. One big box. Just everything was thrown in.
Okay.
The point of the bag is to keep the stove in one piece.
So the stove is in the bag.
Yes.
In the box.
Yes. That makes more sense then?
I thought you just put the bag over there.
No. I sewed a bag, put the stove in it, and then I took all my winter camping gear and put in one box.
I thought you just grabbed the stove and put the stove in the box and then put the bag next to it.
I hope you guys are enjoying this interaction.
You weren't very specific, were you?
Apparently not. Apparently I was not clear enough for you.
Someone joined enough.
I'm sure they were afraid of you.
Maybe it's because we are.
Anyways, I think camping with teenagers is a great thing. It is wonderful. It does not come without some challenges, um, but working through those challenges, it is a worthy experience. Like I said, is really important to me. I really think letting them have their own gear, giving them some autonomy, giving them some control of the situation, is letting them help out fire cook is one of the letting them cook over the fire is great here. Yes, exactly. Helping, letting them do, be involved in all the activities and not excluding
What happened
them.
to the light?
No, it got a lot darker, didn't it?
Is your ring light broken?
I think it's just the camera setting. It's
You
just,
didn't change the setting though.
I know, but I moved close to it. Oh, see? Now it's bright as hell. And I thought it was this camera. This camera's not doing anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna be like, what's the point of that one? If that's just the camera we're using.
Yeah. So, again, I'm going to wrap this up. I thank everyone who joined us. I think, like I said, if you have a teenager in your life or you have a young adult in your life that
Oh,
really.
someone joined. Continue.
Hey, Red Sand Adventures, welcome. If you have these people in your lives,
How did you know the name?
wrote right there. They join us up fairly frequently.
But how do you know that was the person that joined and they weren't here the whole time?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But they did comment most recently. Yeah, if you have a young adult in your life and you'd like to take them camping, I'd highly encourage you to include them. Try to find things that they're interested in and make sure that it's sort of part of the trip. So if they're interested in seeing certain things, try to make those the kind of trips. You may have to compromise on a few things, or you may not have to. Maybe they're exactly interested in what you are. But I find anytime you camp with anyone, that does change a little bit. And just prepared to really work with them. And I know you do. And give them some opportunities. Sky over the years has often tried to be part of these podcasts. Sometimes just to annoy me,
just a nuisance.
just to be a nuisance. Understand that's part of their personality, part of what they're enjoying. But I think they do enjoy it when you include them. I think she does actually like going camping, even though sometimes she will not admit to it. Did you throw that?
No, I didn't throw anything.
What the hell was that?
I don't know.
There's ghosts here.
I would never throw anything. Ever.
I'm not checking the video.
I didn't. Go back and check. You won't see anything.
Anyone see her throw something?
I would never throw anything.
Yeah. Get out there. Give them those
certainly
experiences.
Not Christmas time.
I think it really helps them grow and overcome some challenges and stuff. And it's just a great time.
You should have put more stuff in your There's not that much stuff to throw here.
Well, there is some kind of insect got in here.
Yeah. Those are the stink bugs.
Yeah.
That the government said to kill.
Good. Second. Good.
With what? You don't have enough stuff in your room to throw.
Use your wit. That cuts most things up pretty good.
Okay.
So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was somewhat informative.
Whoops.
But yeah, getting out and camping with
Finger
teenagers, especially a teenage girl, does provide, like I said, some challenges and a lot of rewards. And I think it's good for them. And it's definitely good for you. You'll learn as
Wait, what
much.
was the especially a girl part adding?
I know, sexist, right?
I'm like, honestly, what?
Well,
It's a fact.
that's what I have to work with. I have to work with nothing but girls. I don't get to work with boys
So how do you know there's even a difference?
because I was a boy.
Maybe that was just you.
Maybe
Maybe
you
that was just you being weird.
think I'm weird?
You probably were some weird kid. You could have just sat in the back, like staring at people.
You think I was like you? It's just
No,
a
you
male
the
version
way
of
you
you.
talk about it, you were like, I just didn't do anything. I was just smart enough. I just did everything that the teacher said before they even said it. Like 10 years before they even said it.
10 years. Sometimes I wasn't even born yet. I just knew it instantly.
Yeah, that's how you talk about it. That's how you say that happened.
Anywho, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys for joining me. Let us know how it is for camping when you bring your kids, nieces, nephews, neighbors' kids, whoever you happen to camp with, your friends' kids. Let us know how that goes.
You know,
Get out there though and enjoy it.
you know.
Um, and have a good time. Uh,
Don't let people break down your door.
yeah, we have to go see what's attacking us. Next. If you don't hear
You
from us
know.
next week, it means that the thing on the other side of the door was not safe. So take care, all.
Cover
Bye.
your eyes. Okay, whatever's out there.